Hello and welcome to another edition of the ConunDRUM. I am Dre, and my guests this week, that's right, guests. Um, this is the first episode where I talk to two guests at the same time, and that is because they are the power duo of the folk band based out of St. John, New Brunswick, and that is John and Lisa McLaggan from Tomato. They are a powerhouse on stage. You can definitely see the love that they have for each other, as well as the love that they have for the music and performing and the arts. There's so much that we get into in the podcast, from surviving pandemic to life on the road, how they met, how they got started as a jazz duo, and then they went into the folk music. There's just so much that we cover. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't know about them. And it was just a great conversation, very laid back, and they're awesome people. So they have some dates coming up. I know they're going to Ontario, but if they are performing anywhere in your area, do check them out and do support their music. Go to their website. I'll have the links in the description, of course. So without further ado, my conversation with John and Lisa McLaggan. Tomato, tomato.
Hello.
Hey, I can hear you fine.
Oh, good.
Good. I can hear you as well.
Perfect. How you been?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. You guys look fantastic, by the way.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm going bald, so I got to give credit where credit's due. Yeah, last I saw you guys was at running by the hallway at the ECMAs.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
How was that weekend for you guys?
Oh,
It was great.
It was good. We
Sorry, I'm just messing around with our settings.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We weren't there for the whole weekend. We had just popped in to visit our agent and some friends, and
Right.
so yeah, we weren't really involved. I had spoke on a panel that day, and
Right.
that was it.
I didn't do anything. I just went to hang out.
Perfect. That's the best time, because then you just relax and you don't have to be anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah. So what was the panel that you spoke on? Was it mixing, mastering, or?
Yeah, it was like a production panel.
Yeah.
Some mix engineers, and I was the mastering guy.
Cool. So pretty good turnout.
Yeah, there were some people there. It was quiet. It's early in the morning, right? So
Yeah, I suppose. What was that? Would that have been on the Saturday or the Sunday?
that was Saturday.
It was a Saturday. Okay. So yeah, Friday night was a late night for. Well, I mean, to be fair, it was a late night every night.
Yeah.
That's how it goes, for sure. You get Flo playing and everyone stays up super late, and
Yeah, especially at the Delta, because I know they were going until like 5 or 4 in the morning every night
Yep.
in the lobby. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good time. So okay, so before we get into the nitty gritty of the podcast, so not that it's like cutting edge or Dateline award winning questions, but I do have one that might fit that bill. So is it tomato, 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 or tomato, tomato?
It's tomato, tomato. That's an easy answer. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I know a lot of people, they just say tomato, tomato, or, so do you correct people when they say it wrong?
I don't really.
Sometimes. Yeah.
It's all good.
Depends. Yeah.
Okay.
But
So
we're not too fussy.
do you guys plan on having like a side project of like potato?
No, we always joke that that's our rival band from PEI. But
Beautiful.
But yeah, they don't actually exist. We just
Okay. Well, they should. That's awesome. I always wondered that, like, and I've had people ask me, like, as I was listening to it, like, oh, what are you listening to? And tomato, tomato. It's like, okay, cool. So I thought that's what it was. So
yeah. I mean, it's confusing because it's spelled like tomato, tomato. So
yeah,
it confuses people.
Cool.
Yep.
but it's a good talking point. So
Yeah, exactly.
it gets people talking, and it's a great name, and it fits the brand really well. Like, how did you guys come up with having that as a name?
I mean, I wish we had like a really cool story about it, but to be honest, I mean, we actually started out as a jazz duo with John playing saxophone and I was playing some piano and singing. We were playing together that way, and we were just the John and Lisa duo, or the Lisa and John duo. I don't know. We just didn't have a name, and then we started playing more of the other kind of style of music and started working more around our local scene. And so we decided we needed a name, and we were just kind of throwing around ideas with some friends, and we had it kind of narrowed down to maybe one or two names. And anyway, we said, what do you guys think? And our buddy just kind of said, I don't know, guys, it's tomato, tomato, like whatever. And we were like, huh, it is tomato, tomato. We just like grabbed that, and it seemed to fit for what we were doing. So yeah, that's
No,
really it.
that is a cool story, actually.
Oh, good.
Yeah. It's just that right place, right time, just, and that's when the good names happen. I mean, people, they really stress and mull over band names and logos. And I mean, that's a bit, I mean, it's who you're you're representative of yourself. Like, so it's very important, especially now with branding and, just trying to put yourself out there and competing with all the noise that's out there.
Yeah.
Band names are hard.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's ever truly happy with their band name.
Probably not. I know we did a brand change. Like, we changed our name like a couple years ago. So yeah. So, I mean, it happens. So sometimes change is good. So our good friend Patty Quinn, I was talking to him the other day, and I was saying I was going to be chatting with you guys, and I asked him, is there anything, that you're kind of curious about? And so he wanted me to ask. He's always curious about how, being with the last couple of years, everything that's been going on with the pandemic, how people have adapted or what they've had to do, during the pandemic to kind of get through it. So I guess just asking the whole COVID survival, like, of it all, like what did you guys do to kind of keep busy and kind of aim for the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, it depends on what phase of the pandemic you mean.
Yeah.
Like the banana bread phase or the cleaning your groceries on the deck phase?
I mean, it started out just trying to rebook. So there was all that, like we had 2 tours of the UK that got canceled, but like one got canceled right away because it was going to be in May of that year. So then it was like the chaos of like, okay, we'll cancel that. We move these dates here, and these summer dates are kind of happening, but maybe not. And we're not sure about the Christmas shows. So there was like all of that chaos, and then rebooking things. And then we were supposed to go to the UK again in September, and then that got canceled. And after a few rounds of like rescheduling, canceling again, we just said like, you know what, we're out until we can actually get a hold on what's going to happen, because we can't live in this like perpetual stress of prepping for shows and then having the shows not happen.
And just having to make those decisions. Like sometimes the venue would cancel it, and then other times they would leave it up to the artist, and then it's kind of on us. And we were like, well, we don't want to be some kind of super spreader event.
Right.
And at the time too, like you couldn't eat dinner with your family, but you could go out. I don't know. It just seemed really weird. And
you could go to a restaurant and sit at a separate table from complete strangers, but you could go to somebody's house that
Perhaps if we had charged our family $5, then we could have. Almost like Blaine Higgs is motivated by money.
Maybe
a little.
I'm getting a little suspicious.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just like kind of a low level anxiety, like constant about shows. And so like John said, we just kind of decided to hunker down. And then, I think inevitably you pivot. John had already been kind of interested in and starting to become a mastering engineer. So then you kind of officially did that.
It was the plan to do that anyway. And then everything having shut down, it gave me the time to build the space, because it took me about a year to build this room that we're in now.
Yeah.
And get it designed. Like I had someone design it and all that. So timing wise, that was pretty good for me in that way. It was like, well, I guess it gives me time to focus my energy on this right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing the pandemic did for a lot of people. And I know it was terrible for a lot of people too. But one positive, we can take a positive thing. It really helped people self-reflect and find, direction as to what they want to work on for themselves, as opposed to what expectations are for what they have to do for other people, or, whether it's their job or, just family and that kind of stuff. Because you had to be, okay with yourself, and then there's the flip of that coin, which is, the mental health problems and stuff like that. Like, did you guys experience any type of mental health issues that you had to work through being in isolation?
Not really.
To be honest, we were actually quite happy to be home. Like, we'd been on the road pretty consistently for years. And it was kind of like, when it first hit, it was really our first summer just home and not touring. And it was lovely.
Yeah.
And we taught our daughter how to ride a bike. And it was like, we were just home, and it was really nice.
We watched we kind of binged some TV that we hadn't done in a while. We watched all the Amazing Race Canada, and my daughter and I watched all the Finding Bigfoot episodes, 11 seasons of that or something.
Yeah.
And
did you fall into the Tiger King?
Full time.
Yeah.
And I just I threw myself into the gym, which I was doing anyway, but that was kind of my constant. And I think that, when I'm doing that, my mental health is typically good. So
it's funny too, because that summer going into the fall, the first year of the pandemic, I actually had a really bad back injury. Like, I had a kind of severely herniated disc, and we would have ended up canceling a lot of shows anyways, because I couldn't sit in a chair or stand. I was flat on my back for a few months.
Wow.
So that happened too.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. It was just like on the floor.
There's so many things that happened, that they just kind of blip and then they're gone, and you just kind of forget it's in the past, because you're already, looking to the future, especially now with everything opening up. It's kind of, everyone's rushing to get out and, play shows, book shows, travel, tour, all that stuff. And with the ECMAs, they were able to have that again and have a live events and people gathering, and it's funny. That is just one of those blips on the radar that kind of went by, and now it's going to be interesting to see how touring is. ECMAs definitely felt pretty normal. I think we're heading to Ontario in August, and we've been on the fence. Do we fly? Do we not fly? But looking at the news right now, we're like, I don't think we can trust flying, because we always, if we're going to fly, it's so that we can get in and get out. Yeah.
But I don't think our gear would make it. It's always it's always a risk with all the gear. And if all the flights are full because of all the cancellations, the first thing to go is our gear. Would you be doing that as a duo, or is that like full band shows? These are duo shows.
Okay. The premise of the podcast sort of is to get to know some of the background of the people that the amazing talents that we have in Atlantic Canada, because there's a lot. Like, we definitely, I've said it before, we punch above our weight when it comes to talent from the Maritimes. So just for anyone that doesn't know a whole lot about the two of you, where are you each from? Are you from St. John? Because I know that's where you're based out of, but is that where you're originally from?
I'm from St. John. Yeah. Lisa is from Chicago.
Okay. So she's an import.
She is. She's a political refugee.
Well, I've been here as a permanent resident for over a decade. So I mean, it's
So I'll give you the really short version.
Okay.
The concise version. So I was born and raised in St. John. I went to St. FX for my undergrad in music, And then I went down to Boston to the New England Conservatory to get a master's degree in saxophone. And that's where I met Lisa, who had just finished an opera degree at Northern Illinois University.
Okay.
So we met in Boston, and then we moved back to Antigonish, and we were teaching at St. FX for a couple of years, but we were young. We were like 24 when we started.
Mm-hmm.
It's like weird, actually. We were weirdly young, younger than a lot of the students. And then we went from Antigonish to Miami for a couple of years. Lisa was getting her doctorate at the University of Miami. Then we went to Iowa and taught at a community college there for a few years. And then we were like, what are we doing in Iowa? So we moved back here. And that was in 2009 that we moved back here.
We also got married and had a child at some point in all of that.
Yeah. Well, how old is Lucy now?
She's 11.
She's 11.
Yeah.
So
we had her after we had her here. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's where my wife and son are both born in St. John.
Okay. Awesome.
So my wife grew up in St. John. She went to the St. Vincent's, high school, and her mom was a teacher there. And so then I'm from Miramichi, so I was going to college here at NBCC, and she came to Miramichi to study animation and graphic design.
Oh, cool.
And so we met at college, and then after college, moved to St. John, and then we stayed there until Jacob was born in 2004. So we moved here in 2007. So we would have missed the return of Tomato.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So we've been in Miramichi ever since 2007. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
So he's spent his whole childhood basically, and he's graduating high school next week. Oh my God.
Wow.
I can't believe that.
Trip.
But yeah. So he made it, or we made it. I don't know.
We all made it.
You all made it. Yeah.
We all made it.
Yeah.
Finished
big accomplishment for everyone. Yeah.
So he's weighing his options. He wants to probably take a year off, and then his mother's an artist, visual artist and stuff. So he's kind of into that. I think he wants to get into movie and TV production, like set design, stuff like that.
Okay. Cool.
Something visual and with his hands. Like he's really good with building stuff, which I am not. So
yeah. That's awesome. Good for him.
So you have a lot of musical education and stuff. So was music always something growing up, like with your family, like in the house?
We have that in common, that neither of us come from musical families at all.
Really?
Yeah.
We were both like the black sheep of the family, I would say.
Yeah. So my father is a huge music fan. So music was always playing in the house. Are you breaking the chair?
I know.
Yeah. So music was always playing in the house. He would make me these really sweet mixtapes, and with Beatles and Beach Boys, Buddy Holly, all these, Big Bopper. And so it always seemed like a big part of my life. And I remember I had an uncle who played in bands, and I was probably like 6, and I remember going over to his house and going down into his basement where all the drums and that's where everyone rehearsed. Okay. So he had all these like vintage Fender amps and drums and everything, and I just remember walking in there and being like, whoa. And I was kind of hooked after that.
So did he let you like fart around on them and kind of dabble? Yeah.
So he tried. I remember sitting and playing some drums, not playing drums, but sitting and banging on some drums. But
I can relate to that.
He tried to teach me guitar, but I was 6 and like a small 6-year-old, and it was a full-size acoustic, and it just wasn't any fun. And then my parents put me in piano. But it was before that they put me in piano, but it was like kinder music piano. And my mom was taking a college courses in the evenings. So my dad had to take me, and it was all daughters and their moms and my dad and I. And you'd have to go over here and dance on the treble clef, and then dance over here to the bass clef. And it was not what I wanted at all. And it was really not what my dad wanted. So we used to leave the house every day when we were like scheduled for my piano lessons. And we'd go to McDonald's, we'd get some food, and we'd hang out there until the lesson was supposed to be over. And then we would go home.
So spent the lesson money on a couple of Big Macs.
Yep.
Nice.
And exactly. And then, so that was like my kind of 2 failed attempts. And then when my mother was a teacher, actually, and so I'd be waiting for her after school, and there was this weird little organ thing that would be in her room, and I would just learn songs on this organ. It was really small. I think it had 2 levels, but it was tiny. It's almost like an electric accordion kind of. Okay. It was really weird. It had this like kind of drony thing to it. Anyway, I remember just sitting and learning songs by ear on that. And then I got into the band. Like, we had a band at school, and I started playing saxophone, and then bought a bass from a guy, and I don't know, and this was like, I think that was, started saxophone in 5th grade. 6th grade, I bought a bass from a guy in a band out of the like want ads in the paper.
Yeah.
Taught myself how to play bass, and then a friend left a guitar at my house in middle school, so I taught myself how to play guitar, and it was just always whatever I could get my hands on.
Yeah. And so with Lisa, you play like so many different things at the same time when you're performing. Like, you got the kick drum and the snare drum and the shaker and the washboard, so you've got like a plethora of things to play with on stage. So what instruments did you start out with?
I didn't play any percussion. I was very lucky in that I grew up with an upright piano in the living room, my house, and I was the only one that played it or had any interest in playing it. So I was just kind of always a very musical kid, and my parents, like, we were always listening to music, I guess. Like, they liked the oldies stations, and they would buy me the things that I wanted to listen to, which was all pop music when I was a kid. And then and I took piano lessons for many years, learned classical piano, and then I switched over to voice and learned classical voice. And I was just like a choir kid because I grew up in the Midwest. So I was in any choir, any show choir, improv, like jazz vocal group, anything I could sing in, I was in. Mm-hmm. And then I went to school for music, which was always, it was like just never a question what I was going to be doing, I guess, like when I was applying for university and stuff. And my mother told me I had to get a degree in music education or else she wasn't paying for it because I wanted to go to school for performance. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I got a classical undergrad and sang opera, and got a music education degree. And then I did a master's in jazz performance on voice. And kind of similar to John, I was always like doing all the things that were any opportunity. Like, I played Indian tabla drums at one point in a world music ensemble. I guess that's the only like percussion related thing I ever did. That was really cool. And I took some jazz piano as well for a while.
Jazz is hard.
I mean, jazz is jazz, it's all hard, I guess, or it's just a different language, a different syntax, in the music language. But yeah, and transitioning actually as a classically trained musician to jazz was like really intimidating. Now that you say that, that reminds me of that. And just like learning the different language and becoming fluent in a different kind of music language. Mm-hmm. It's cool. But now I'm like bilingual. I can do.
There you go.
Classical or jazz.
You live in a bilingual province, right? So.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like with jazz, because to me jazz is intimidating. And it's not to say that other genres of music are not, very improvisational. But to me, I find like jazz, it's just so wide open.
Yeah, it is intimidating.
There's a lot of like different time signatures and a lot of things that are flowing in and out of each other. To me, it's just a complete like mind-blowing. I don't know if I'll ever even try it. Just
Oh, you should. It's like,
Yeah,
there's steps to becoming more comfortable improvising.
it's such a diverse genre of music now. Like we say jazz, but since the 40s, it's just gone in a million different directions, right?
Yeah,
so
that's true.
depends if you want to do something that's more jammy and maybe it's just a couple chords and more groove based, or if you're going to try and like play bebop, that's a different kind of thing. And harmonically, the buy-ins, just to be able to like do it at all, the buy-in is kind of a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do that style. Like, yeah, it's pretty wide open.
Yeah.
I mean, just like any style of music, you can get as in depth as you want, right? Like you can get, you can get as deeply into any style of music,
So when you said earlier about listening to a lot of like pop music and stuff at the time, so was that like boy band, like New Kids on the Block kind of stuff? Like Whitney Houston or like Mariah Carey?
It was all of that. Yeah, I loved Whitney Houston. I had the record of her How Will I Know single. And I loved the Bangles. I loved Madonna. I definitely loved New Kids on the Block. I went to their concert actually. And I went to a Madonna concert during her Who's That Girl tour.
Oh, wow.
But then my tastes definitely started to change, like late middle school and all through high school. Like all I wanted to listen to was the Beatles, the Jackson 5, Stevie Wonder. I got like really into Motown, and that stuff is still some of my favorite music. Like I always tell John, this is so dark. I always say, like, if I'm in a coma, if you play Stevie Wonder and it doesn't work, to wake me up, I'm probably done.
Wow.
Stevie Wonder always gets me. Yeah, it's like the music that's like my happy place, I guess.
Yeah. So what, like, coming from that you guys played jazz together as a jazz duo, what kind of prompted switching over to a more folk kind of genre?
It's just what we liked, I guess.
Yeah, we were listening to a lot of folk. A friend had given us a burned CD of the Pickin' on Modest Mouse. Do you know that Pickin' on series, the bluegrass series?
It's a band called Iron Horse.
Yeah, and they've got like Pickin' on, there's Pickin' on Zeppelin, a Pickin' on Metallica maybe.
Yeah.
And the Pickin' on Modest Mouse one is just kind of perfect. Like it doesn't, and I guess the Modest Mouse songs are like more obscure, so it's easier to kind of reframe them in a way that you don't remember, the previous version. Anyway, it's a really great album, and we were just listening to that all the time. And then we were back here.
I was pregnant.
But just before before that, we had played, they had called us to play a gig at the zoo, and they wanted us to play some like kind of Dixieland kind of stuff. They said, the only thing is there's a group of Irish exchange students in, and we need someone to lead them on a march around the zoo with a llama. But our theme is Christmas in July, so we want to march and sing Christmas carols while we march around the Cherrybrook Zoo.
Okay, I'm getting a mental image of all this.
Yeah. Well, we're like, well, Lisa's going to play piano and sing. She obviously can't march with the piano.
No. Unless you get like a little travel amp with a guitar, maybe.
Oh, guitar, yeah.
That would have been
yeah,
for sure. So I had a guitar. It was still literally in the closet from high school. I had not played in years. So I said, well, surely I can remember a couple chords and we can play some Christmas tunes just to march these Irish exchange students and the llama around the zoo. So we did that, and then the guitar was just kind of out of the closet at that point. And and I remember when you were pregnant, we were just like stuck in our bedroom because it was super hot. We live in Grand Bay. I grew up on the west side, so sometimes the heat in Grand Bay can be a challenge for me. We had this little tiny AC unit in the window of our bedroom, so we were just kind of held up in there. and listening to music and stuff. And so I had grabbed the guitar and was just kind of noodling, and we started like singing. We were harmonizing a bit, and
that's my favorite. That's
yeah.
my favorite thing.
Yeah,
that we do. Like
it's signature. It's signature. You guys, like, your harmonies are perfect together.
Thank you.
So then we just started playing. I remember playing some of those Modest Mouse tunes. I remember playing some Mason Jennings tunes, and Joni Mitchell and Alison Krauss in Union Station. I remember playing a couple of those. Rich Woman and Baby, now that I found you, I'll let you go. Yeah, which is an old.
No, don't stop. That's
that, yeah. And anyway, so we just kind of started doing it, and I wasn't singing at all at the time.
I was like, we sound so nice together. Like, we should do this in front of people for real. And John was like, no, absolutely not.
I feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then eventually she wore me down, and we were playing jazz shows just at restaurants or whatever. And we were had a gig at the time. It was the Bourbon Quarter in St. John. And we had asked them, we were playing there like once a month kind of thing. We had just said, hey, is it cool, like, after we play our jazz sets, can we just do like a few folk tunes or whatever?
Right.
Literally did not care at all.
No.
Like,
yeah.
No. As long as it's not going to cost them any more, they're fine with it.
Yeah. And anyway, so we started doing that. I was insanely nervous. I could barely sing. I was so nervous, and it took a little while to get over that. And then it just kind of became a thing, and we started playing at farmers markets, and then we entered the Searchlight competition. This was one of the first years of it.
Yeah.
And we did really well. We ended up winning for New Brunswick, and then festivals started calling, and it just kind of took off, and we had no intention of that ever happening, and we just kind of chased it.
And this is around the time of the first release?
Yeah, this would be like 2014.
Which is it's not I Go Where You Go, is it? No,
that's the second one. So It Goes.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Yeah, because then you guys, I think it was around the time of the first release, you guys came to Miramichi and played. I remember you guys played on the radio with Patty in the booth, and
and in Terry
Whalen's barn. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, I wish he would bring that back. I mean, I know why it's not back, but that was just such a great sounding barn. Like, it was literally a barn.
Yeah,
that was super fun.
Really fun. We have photos from that like road trip, and like I have photos of that barn.
We had our wedding reception in there.
Oh, you did? That's awesome.
Yeah, we had gotten married in May, and then just real small, only a couple people, and then in August, in the super crazy heat, I was playing with Terry Whalen at the time and his band, and then we were looking for a spot, and I just kind of sent him a Facebook message, was like, hey, would you be cool with us using the barn? And he was so generous, and he was like, absolutely, what's mine is yours, bring it. We had a bunch of family come down. They had the parking just like when the barn shows, and his mom and dad let us use their kitchen for like some catering, and it was they're just amazing people. Like,
that's awesome.
So when did you guys start writing songs? Because I was going to ask about how the whole dynamic, since you guys are, you're a couple, you're married, and how did that decision to play together? Because I know a lot of people that are partners that are musicians, they're very weary on being in a musical project together, because you're together all the time anyway. Then to add that as the side thing to get away from the spouse, it becomes the thing that you're still doing together. So how did that dynamic and influence your songwriting, and like, where did that come from for you guys to work together? Because if you work together so well, I mean, it's not as common to see two people that work like that all the time.
We met in music school, so we just always played music together.
We've never not played music together, I guess. is
Yeah.
more is
Another
the
way of
truth.
saying.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I don't do any of the songwriting, by the way. I tried to like help in the beginning, but it's like it doesn't. It's I don't know. I haven't studied songwriting. I've studied composition in a lot of ways, and can write lots of music, but I haven't studied that kind of songwriting in any way. And you have, so it was like,
Yeah, I was a little more interested in like learning how to do that, and versus same thing, like it's different obviously than arranging for a big band or whatever. Just lyrics, like lyrics alone, that was really the thing. So I was pretty game to like pretty interested in learning how to do that, and so yeah, kind of became more my thing.
So Lisa, do you write any lyrics for the songs that you're singing, or is it just John?
I'm a terrible lyricist. I do not write any lyrics. I should not write any lyrics. I sometimes help with arrangements, like John writes everything, and I sometimes help. Like, I mean, I don't even want to say help, because he writes things that just naturally lend themselves to the things that I end up doing. It's not that I'm really like helping. It's just that I pick up on the kind of intended harmonies that are already given to me as a gift in the song, and I hear them, so I sing them. But no, I help with like arrangements, I guess, harmony hits, like little arrangement ideas sometimes, but I really don't do any of the writing and should not do any of the writing. I'm fine with that. We all have our strengths.
Yeah, you've never really been interested in.
No.
But I mean,
I also
that
don't
chemistry.
have the mental like fortitude. Like John will stick with something until it's right, and I will be like, it's fine, whatever. And it's not fine always. So I end up kind of just, he doesn't settle for music that he's writing until it's like feels really done. And even in the studio, like recording, he'll be like still making little edits and changes, and it's just never 100% done. And I am very easily able to just be like, sounds great, let's go play it in front of 1 million people.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, like when you bring a song into the studio, very rarely does it come out the same way.
And it shouldn't. I mean, that's like a good thing.
We always left space for that. Like our last two, and kind of the Christmas album too. The last 3 albums were all recorded in Nashville, and we did not. And we decided that they would be full band things, so we did not go in there with. I don't want to say we didn't go in there with a game plan. We only sent them acoustic guitar and vocals for demos, and we had thoughts about what might happen, and we kind of. I guess I describe it as like we had an answer for every question that they might have, but we didn't put it out there necessarily right away because we wanted to just see. I mean, you're hiring amazing musicians. Why would you go in there and dictate everything they're gonna do?
Yeah, you can just do it yourself.
Be what they wanted to be.
Yeah, and some things were pretty close to what we imagined, and some pretty unexpected things happened too.
Because I noticed there was the shift in the album. Like your first album's very clearly a duo with some added, strings and stuff like that. And then as the albums progress, like you've got full band sound coming in, and you've played full band shows. So when you're writing songs now, do you write them with the intention of full band and then strip it down to a duo when you guys are playing just together? Or is it always the same process of, you write it for the two of you and then add as you go?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. Like I think the song, the chords, the melody should all be able to stand on their own. And then you can add a full band to that or not. But if they don't kind of stand on their own just with an acoustic guitar, then it's probably not something you want to move forward with. So whereas if we were in a band, and writing as a band, then you could have some like sick grooves and riffs that can really carry the tune. And maybe the vocal line isn't necessarily as predominant or carrying things. You know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, you could say that about Jimi Hendrix, right? Like you take away what he's playing on guitar and what the band is doing, he might not have been as famous, right? If he was just singing and if you were only listening to his lyrics. that's just a different angle to come at it. So, but we start from the song and then add the stuff.
Right.
Because we're not going to jam those things out. It's going to be like, I mean, the process was always like, we play the songs, folks would make notes on them. We'd go into the room, one take, kind of feel it out. Second take, probably tweak the arrangement. That might be the final take. Third take, max usually.
Yeah. So you only ever do three takes max?
I don't know if we ever did a fourth take. Yeah, maybe.
Kind of like if it's not happening. I mean, and also the Nashville guys move at like a lightning speed.
Yeah.
And we like that, and we're pretty like decisive, and like we're pretty quick to just make some changes or tweaks, and I like working at that speed too. But it's kind of like if it's not happening in like 3 takes, then it's just not happening. I don't know.
It's not that they're not getting it right. The idea is just not working.
Yeah.
So with that,
like just move on.
I'm guessing there's some stuff that's been left on the cutting room floor then.
Well, I wouldn't say that, because we've like whittled it down by the time we get there, but there's been like tons of songs that have been left on the floor in terms of John's writing, because like he wrote like 50 songs for our last album. Like, as I say, like you don't stop until it's done. So until we had a specific set of songs that worked and also worked together conceptually, and like all of these different pieces of the puzzle, right? There's just so many variables, and John would sit and write every single day for a year before we, committed to anything. So there's lots of songs that are in notebooks up on our bookshelf, but they never made it to the cutting room floor of the studio, because by the time we got there, we had already vetted all of those songs.
The only song I remember from the last album that took a minute or two was Roadside Attraction. And I had kind of an idea on how I wanted the groove to go, and it just wasn't working. And then I think our guitar player, just came up with this riff kind of for it.
Yeah.
And then once he had that, we were like, yep, that's it.
Okay.
Because it was a little bit of a like, the drummer was still thinking about the way I described it. Like he was still there. And then the guitar player was like, but what about this? And once I was like, yes, ditch, like throw out my idea, ignore my idea. Then it all just like, once they went with that, it was came together really quickly.
Yeah. So do you bring like, say, because I know a lot of bands do, they'll come up with say 15 songs, and then they'll go to the studio with those 15, and then only 12 will make it through.
We did not do that. We knew the ones that were going to be, we had the album figured out. I mean, you're paying people by the day, by the,
by the hour,
in American dollars, and it adds up pretty quick.
Adds up just almost as quick as the amount on the gas pumps right now.
Oh my God, you're gonna open a Pandora's box right now.
well, you guys live in St. John too, right? So I mean, the refinery's right there. You'd think there'd be a bit of a break. I remember thinking that when I lived in St. John, I was like, why is it the same price here when it's just coming from over there? Like it doesn't have to travel as far. But
because it can be. It can be.
But don't worry, they're going to raise interest rates, and it's going to fix everything.
Just back to your like, as far as us working together and that dynamic goes, I just wanted to add that we are like oddly compatible together, and I mean, it just works.
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't do that with anyone else. Also, having said that, like I couldn't go on the road and do all the things that we do. Like I don't think I could do that with anyone else, because we are so close and like take such good care of each other, and I don't know.
Well, you're also not missing home, because home is with you. That's a huge benefit to that, right?
Definitely.
The
other thing I would say too, just to go back to Nashville, like you said, they move lightning fast, but you don't notice it,
right?
Because at least with the group of people we've been lucky enough to work with, we have a friend who's kind of been our contact down there, and we've known him for years. We used to play jazz gigs together in Miami, and he's amazing and kind of knows all the right people. And anyway, it's funny because everyone's really laid back. Everyone's super friendly and like courteous, and they'll kind of come in and be really chill, but they won't be late. They'll be 5 minutes early and chill.
The level of professionalism is,
there's going to be no like, oh, I forgot this, or I need to get strings, or like, they take care of all their stuff, and that way they can be really relaxed when they come in. And it happens fast, but you don't notice it because everyone's just kind of like, yeah, cool, let's do another, like. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's what gets them hired and rehired. Like if you're the guy that does forget the strings or does come 5 minutes late, then chances are the phone's not going to ring next week.
Yeah, because there's somebody else who's just as good and really nice and prompt, and they don't deal really with assholes down there.
Yeah.
It's just not
you just won't work. Yeah.
And it's funny because I work with a lot of musicians from there now with mastering, and it's the same thing. It's like, those are the people that are going to reply right away. They're going to be really friendly. If they need changes, it's always super polite. You're never chasing anyone for payments, like, but it all happens in a way that's kind of really relaxed. And I think that's just,
as long as everyone's taking care of their own thing, then, the next thing just progresses along and everybody's happy because everyone's on the same page.
But I think that's been cultivated down there over decades.
I mean, there's a reason why it's called, the country music capital of, the world, really.
And really just the music capital of the world too. Now, I mean, we've been shocked at the diversity of what goes on down there.
I was going to say it's changing from just country to just music, like you said.
Because it's a pretty relative, it's changing now, but it's a really very affordable city to live in. So I think that, versus like if you're looking at the other music hubs, which would be New York and LA, not so affordable. Not maybe the kind of relaxed lifestyle that people are looking for necessarily. Lots of excitement, but
there's some band, like there's a lot of bands that I follow from the LA scene, like in the punk rock community, and there's a few of them that have left LA and have gone to Nashville. Or Houston. Or Austin, I should say.
Austin has a cool thing going on too.
Cool. So I meant to ask about you mentioned the fitness thing earlier, Lisa. We're building our own little home gym situation. We were big into the gym before the pandemic hit, and then everything closed, and then we couldn't go to the gym, and so it kind of took a toll on us, or me, I should speak for myself, and mentally, and just trying not having that safe space anymore because it wasn't safe. So you were able to go to the gym through the pandemic, or how did that work?
Well, no, I mean, it was like closed, and then it was open, and then it was closed, and just with all the different, same as any other business, during
red
the
phase,
different
orange
phases
phase
of the pandemic. And then it was open, but it was, we were like, the owners had put like tape on the floor, so everyone had like a specific square they were working out in, and everything was 10 feet apart. And we still are like, sanitizing everything after workouts and everything. And at that time, I think maybe we were masked, but the community, it's a CrossFit gym, and the community stuck together like through all of that. And our head coach was doing Zoom CrossFit classes for a while, like when we were all working out in our basements, and we were just all, some of us were getting together and working out outside together, like when we could. And I think
so keeping each other accountable kind of thing, and not falling off the wagon, so to speak. Okay,
for sure.
We didn't have that here. Or at least we didn't have
I mean, I think that is something that is unique to the CrossFit community, and I don't think you would find that at like a Planet Fitness or a Globo gym or something. I don't think people are going to be. Is that a real thing?
I don't know.
Is that like a cartoon? Like a cartoon, like a Simpsons gym or something? Anyway, I don't think you would find that at any other kind of business, I think that is kind of unique to the CrossFit community.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So I do have a segment that I call the crash questions. So they're kind of rapid fire, what have you. They're not like, change the world kind of questions, and not too deep, at least. The first question, and I don't want the other to influence the other, what their answers are.
Hang on, are these for both of us to answer, or do we charade?
Well, yeah, you need chant. However you want to do it. There's no rules.
Okay, I'm nervous. All right, I'm ready.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Cake or pie?
Is there ice cream?
Sure. You can put ice cream on either one.
True. Cake.
Pie.
Nice. So on tour, if there's one album that is stuck in the CD player, I'm going back to late 90s CD players still being a thing. So if there's one CD stuck in the vehicle, which one do you not want it to be?
Do you not want it to be?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I'd just rather not be stuck on the radio.
Yeah. I'm okay with anything being stuck in there. We can make it work.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Well, one thing is that every time we plug in our phone to the audio jack thing, for some reason it always plays Nirvana. It just automatically goes.
Oh, all apologies.
Oh yeah, it's all apologies. Yeah. Because it's A. And it must be linking to my
iTunes. Your playlist. Yeah.
And I had somebody send me all apologies. Somebody wanted to use all apologies as a reference mix once. Okay. So I actually had bought the
the unplugged or the studio version.
It's the studio version.
Okay, so the electric one. Okay.
But that always comes on as soon as we plug in our phone, but we laugh now. As soon as it comes on, we're just like, going on for I don't even know how many years.
Yeah. That's funny. So what would be your favorite movies of all time?
My favorite movie of all time is The Three Amigos.
Nice.
We have watched that so many times. In college, I was the only DVD we had. We had that and Christmas Vacation. And
so Chevy Chase fans,
Yeah, we just watched it over and over and over and over again.
The Three Amigos.
One summer in particular where that's all. It's our comfy blanket movie. It's The Three Amigos for sure.
Yeah. Can you do the Three Amigos salute?
Of course.
Will we is different.
Yeah.
More likely to perform My Little Buttercup.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. So if you could, I'm wearing a Doctor Who shirt. I don't know if you know the reference. So if you could time travel anywhere and any time, what would be a concert or an event that you'd want to go to?
Can we only time travel to the past?
No, you're in the TARDIS, so you can go wherever.
Oh. So what concert?
Concert or event?
Oh.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's a good question.
There's so many.
Yeah. I definitely am someone who feels pretty out of sorts nowadays. I would definitely go back to the 70s.
Okay.
And just stay.
And just stay there?
Yeah. I'm not doing so well with technology.
Yeah. Is there like a specific place in the 70s that you'd want to be?
That's a good question.
Abbey Road.
Well, I wouldn't want to be there in the 70s. I want to be there in the 60s. Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like in the 70s, I feel like Nashville would have been pretty cool in the 70s, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Or Austin. There was some really cool music stuff going on in Austin. That was like the birth of the outlaw.
Yeah, like with Willie and them, yeah.
And we have it, what's that? It's the other guy. He and Willie both recorded country albums on Atlantic when Atlantic thought they'd have a country section of the label for a second. Totally flopped.
Oh.
what is his name? He's not nearly as famous as Willie, obviously.
No.
Groover's Paradise is one of his albums. That's really bothering me.
Think of it before I
Speaking
Google
of
it.
technology,
I will Google it for you because this is.
it's going to
What's it
bother
called?
everybody.
Groover's Paradise.
Groover's Paradise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doug Thumb.
Doug. Yeah, it's like Doug Sahm, Sahm. Something. Yeah. So he actually plays on. Oh, what's that Willie Nelson album on Atlantic? It's yeah, it's not coming to me today. Anyway, he's actually like playing backup on one of those albums. He's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know though. Or maybe just St. John in the 70s. I'm more just concerned with getting away from
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Lisa? Where would you go and when?
I don't know. I really don't. I've always loved the there's a Joni Mitchell album, Miles of Isles. I've always loved that album, and that was recorded live. So maybe I would want to go see that concert.
Or the Shadows and Light
of
concert.
Course, yeah, that's my answer. Shadows and Light.
Jocko and Pat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ditto. That's the one.
Boom. I'm glad it's the same answer.
And the Willie Nelson album is Shotgun Willie. Okay.
Okay. It all wraps up with a little bow at the end, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, just in hearing your answers, and I never really thought about an answer myself to that question, actually, but now thinking about it, especially having just watched the Disney Plus series Get Back.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That rooftop concert, like to be there and have everyone be like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it was a short concert, but
yeah, it's so wild. And it's like, you know, the bankers are all put out, and there's a little old lady's like, they've interrupted my nap.
That was one of the best parts of that whole thing, was the people's reactions. So it was so like on the nose, like they were just, you know, stereotypical Brits at the time, like, you know, it was very good, but I was supposed to have tea and blah, you know, like
no one's that excited though. Like even the people who are probably really excited are not. They're playing it cool. Like,
it's like, so what do you think? Do you like the Beatles? Oh yes, I have a couple of their albums. Yeah, very good, quite good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the level of excitement is just. I would have been freaking out, like.
Yeah, 100%.
Running around and screaming and yeah. No,
that documentary is so interesting, but also chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Stressed me out kind of at times. I was like, if I was in that studio and felt responsible to get things done, I'd be stressed.
Especially the first half where they were in that great big warehouse.
Yeah.
You know, and George like quits the band.
Yeah. And they're all just kind of like,
and
they're pretty low key about that. They're like, yeah, George.
Yeah.
He left.
He's like,
gone. Is he coming back? No, we don't think so.
We don't know. It's like, yeah.
Definitely humanized them in a wonderful way.
Absolutely. It was long, but it was long I enjoyed every minute of it, but for non-musicians that just were fans of the Beatles to watch it, probably felt a lot longer to them, just for not knowing the processes that are involved when you're creating and working as a band. Like,
I thought it was interesting that it was all very relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Like they weren't doing anything different. It wasn't didn't seem like it was different than being in any other jam space kind of room.
Yeah.
And product was genius, but it was very relatable. Yeah.
It like you said, it humanized them in all the right ways, and you know, the interactions between them and their spouses, and you know, we can't blame Yoko for breaking them up anymore. So
I have feminist feelings about that.
Blaming Yoko.
Yeah.
Of
course, like we look to kind of demonize women or pit them against each other. It's just like so dumb.
But they didn't.
Agreed.
Yeah, they weren't. It wasn't coming off that way at all.
No.
Like,
no.
He was high as a kite in that whole documentary anyway.
I thought when
She
they
was
were
sweet.
in that big space, it was a little weird that she was like right next to John all the time.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
I
that
never
was weird.
spoke. Like, but
That was weird.
she certainly wasn't in there causing a lot of drama or anything.
No, she was very sweet, and she would, go get him a tea, or she would, walk off and do her own art thing and then come back. You know what I mean? Like, there was definitely not what that initial documentary that had come out based on that footage that was made out to look like. She was always in the way and, kind of villainizing her. So,
Yeah.
so outside of the crash questions, actually, you bring up a point about the, the feminizing, or the feminist. I can't even speak anymore. I didn't have enough coffee. Having a daughter, and being a woman in the music industry, and allowing her to do, because I saw today that she was in a gymnastics show or competition. And I know she's performed on stage with you guys as well. So as myself, as a parent, I don't want to push my son into any one particular thing. But you must see signs of things that she does that you want to kind of help her along in that path, or are you just letting it be what it is?
I mean, I think we both just want her to be a happy, healthy person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. I think we both kind of tried to be a little more proactive with her like music education at the beginning, but she clearly wasn't as interested. I mean, she's very talented, and she has perfect pitch, which we don't really talk about.
I don't know if she has perfect pitch.
Well,
We've talked
anyway,
about that. She has a really good ear.
She's got a great ear, yeah, good relative pitch anyway. And she like, this is a kid who sang before she was talking. Like, she's very, very, she's great, and picks up stuff really fast, but it's just not her love. It's not her passion. Her passion is gymnastics, and has been for a number of years now. I mean, and who knows, that can change again too.
Mm-hmm.
But right now we're just supporting her in becoming the best like athlete that she can be, because that's what her love is at this moment. So we're just going to keep supporting whatever that is.
Yeah, she still loves music, and she sings a lot around the house, and she and I listen to a vinyl every morning before school. And
nice.
Like, it's still
well done, sir.
Yeah, she's a cool person for sure.
Yeah. And
but
she's only 11?
Yeah, she's 11. And as far as like feminism goes, I mean, she's being raised by feminist parents, so she's very aware that I don't know, we were just always telling her the truth about everything, basically. And I mean, there was just a little hiccup at her school where they had been kind of enforcing the dress code, and so we had a few rant sessions about that, and told her to wear whatever she wants, and educated her about how dress codes unfairly target and sexualize girls.
And so a bunch of the students decided that they would have a day where they all broke the dress code.
Mm-hmm.
And they did. And actually the school's been great. And they were like, you know what, we need to rethink these. And they totally changed it. It's totally fair.
They said this is outdated, and the kids helped rewrite the dress code, and
as they should. Like they're the kids that are wearing the clothes. They're the ones that have to go to school and socialize and be comfortable in their own skin. I mean, as kids, going through middle school and high school, those are your formative years where you find out who you are. And then to be told that you can't do a certain thing or wear a certain thing, that for some people that can be, demoralizing.
Yeah. We try to just like arm her with knowledge, and like we sent her to school kind of, ready to say, like, if she got in trouble for what she was wearing, we just said, well, just say, ask them what they're doing to educate the young boys about being respectful to women, and when they can answer that, you'll follow their dress code.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I'm fully
We're
on
those
board.
parents.
Well, so are we, actually. I didn't think about the terminology until you said that, because our son technically is being raised by feminist parents as well. Like that's
great
conversations with him, about all that stuff. And he's not had an issue, and he's 17, going to be 18 in October. And soon be leaving the nest and being in a, contributing member of society. And hopefully we,
Right.
Prepared him to be respectful and, be a good human being.
Yeah.
It's not hard, to like have those conversations.
Say that.
And be,
You say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard in theory.
Anyway, but yeah, so she's, I would say we're kind of always talking to her about stuff, keeping her in the loop.
Cool.
For better or for worse. I've probably been doing that too much her whole life, but
no, you have to arm them with the right tools, and then they can dig into their toolbox and, remember stuff and be prepared. Because the worst thing is not being prepared.
Yeah. I mean, we took her to her first Pride parade when she was like 4. And I just remember saying, like, do you know why we're going to the Pride parade? And she kind of rolled her eyes and was like, because all love is beautiful, Mom. I know. Like, I get it. So I love that that's like just not a thing for her. Like, she gets it.
And I think for a lot of kids, it's like not a thing.
The kids get it.
Yeah.
And that's what gives me hope about, the next generation is a lot of them, like, even when I was a kid growing up, there was, buddies of mine that would say racist or, homophobic things and stuff like that. But now, like, the generation that's coming up now, they're coming up with, the pride parades and the awareness of all the racial inequalities, with, the indigenous people, all of that. So to me, that gives me hope that they're going to be able to come in, and as they go, become members of, parliament and, contribute that way to make those changes and be a better society.
Each generation does better than the last, right?
Yeah. So hopefully we didn't screw it up so much that they can't fix it anymore.
Don't know. We have a lot of work to do.
We have a lot of work to do. Yeah, exactly. So I don't want to end this on a downer, but that was some heavy stuff.
We're just here to make things awkward. That's what we do.
So you got some shows coming up, you said in August in Ontario. Do you guys have anything else going on? New album, anything in the works you want to tell people about?
No new album in the works.
Around
some shows in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. And
I should post that. I haven't done it yet. I don't know why. I just haven't done it yet. I made a graphic to like say where we'll be in the summertime,
but it's still pretty chill. But we're pretty happy with. We're kind of not ready totally just to jump right back into it. And like you said, that putting a pause on everything really made people stop and reflect and question, like, what am I doing because I think I have to do it, and what am I doing because I actually want to do it?
Yeah.
So we're being a little pickier now about what we do and all that, and about how it's going to affect the household. And
boundaries are a thing.
Yeah.
And it's okay to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the mastering thing too, you'd have some of that stuff in the works, like people coming in. So I know you worked with Jacqueline Reinhardt too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I did her last album. It's constant. I finished a solo piano album today, and I've got 3 albums booked for next week and a couple singles. And
awesome.
It's busy. Yeah.
It's busy. It's good to be busy.
It is.
Yeah. Sometimes he's up at like weird hours because he'll be like, well, I'm working on Australia time, so I have to get this to them before noon their time. And it's like,
well, it's just like you have a repeat client who's been really good, and they reach out and they're like, emergency, we need this. Like, can you do it like now? And it's 9 o'clock at night here, So it takes gear an hour to warm up. And anyway, do it.
Awesome. Well, it's good. This is the podcast. I really appreciate you guys agreeing and coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Make it happen. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right. That was such an awesome conversation with John and Lisa. Thank you again so much for being on the podcast, guys. I really do appreciate it. They're just so down to earth, so laid back, and just great people. I know we kind of ventured off at the end of the chat where we kind of got into, how raising children and feminism and all that, and just, treating everyone as equals. And I do think it's important on how to raise young boys in not behaving in such a way, and the onus is not on the girls and women to dress a certain way or to act a certain way. I think there's a lot of education out there that we have to do and do better. So anyway, that was, like I said, a great conversation. Again, link to their socials and their website. Do check them out when they are in your area. They put on a fantastic, high energy, entertaining show. The banter in between songs is just as good as the music. You definitely will not be disappointed in seeing them live. Also, should mention, it wasn't talked about in the podcast, but just the love of music from both of them. But Lisa is also a teacher, music teacher at an elementary school in her area where she lives. So the passion is there for the arts and developing young talent. So good on Lisa and good on John for all that they do. And again, thanks guys for being on the podcast. That's going to be it for this episode. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, be kind to one another, and kindness always wins. So until the next time, I bid you adieu.